we have started to get our screeners, our award season screeners.
Yeah.
You excited or are you dreading it?
Yeah, a mix of both, actually. You know, The Wife was one that just came to me, which I think opened last week or something like that. Anyway,
Oh, it's about a month ago.
About a month ago, The Wife.
About a month ago, yeah.
I didn't see it, so now
I'm
I'm kind of glad that I have it. Unless you're telling me I shouldn't be that glad that I have it.
I'll let you see it.
Okay, all right.
I'll let you see it.
Okay.
I'll let you see it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, all the stuff that I really want to see, I know we're not going to get until the week before. Yeah. So I'm going to have to go out in the theater. I'm going to have to see Bohemian Rhapsody, and I'm missing all the screenings of that unless they schedule more, which they probably will. But yeah, there it goes.
We're so awful. We're just so awful with our awful lives of watching movies.
Because we have to see so much in such a short period of time. We have to see it before anybody except for the National Board and the New York critics. You know, Academy members have until freaking next year. They get a whole extra 2 months. And they don't have to see anything that they don't really want to see. We kind of have to see everything because we're the tip of the spear.
Yeah, and every now and again we have to go poke people to make them show us their stupid movie, and I hate that. I'm like, seriously?
See, and I'm gonna go on record with this. I'm gonna pressure Sam Goldwyn to get out in front of A Boy, a Girl, a Dream and do some awards promotion for that, because that movie deserves to be out there. If you
Mario Hardwick, Meghan Good, lovely little romance.
This movie was in fact shot in one take. I confirmed that.
Oh, really?
There are no seams there. It was one take. They rehearsed those two actors and all the other actors in all the places that they drove to with the Steadicam operator, getting in the car with them, driving over there to that party where some AD was on the walkie-talkie saying, "Okay, they've arrived," and 3, 2, and he goes into the back room, and in they come through the door, and everybody hits their marks. I mean, that is really, really impressive filmmaking.
We of course we know the Hitchcock film.
Yeah.
I will point people to a film called Running Time, 1997 film, directed by Josh Becker, black and white. Same thing. Now, of course, 1997 film, so harder. Already harder.
Yep.
Those camera loads, 11 minutes, and all that kind of stuff. So what he had to do, of course, was devise these moments. And by the way, like this film, that film goes from like downtown to Venice. From when they pick it up. It's a Bruce Campbell movie, by the way.
Yep.
Runtime. And it's really, really neat. Nevertheless, hey, interesting. Here's the question, though. Is there a point to it? The single take? I mean, is there anything about that single take that makes the movie better?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what it is. And this is the thing. In A Boy, a Girl, a Dream, because it is a 2-actor piece, it's basically, I mean, you have other actors in it, at the beginning and later on the party and all this, but because it is fundamentally about a guy and a girl who meet, who have a moment, and then who bare their souls to each other over the course of this evening, you are preserving the kind of thing that you get in live theater, which is that these characters develop over the course of a performance. It's a single, continuous, uninterrupted performance. They are totally in character. And you need it because even though it is a talky movie, two people talking to each other, the heart and soul of the movie is a nonverbal moment near the end.
Yeah.
And what he's doing is he's winding these actors up emotionally so that when they get to that moment, when they're exhausted from this, the camera's there and the crew and following them and being hard in these characters for a full 90 minutes, they get to that emotional moment. It's earned. They've worked their way to it. It's so pure and it's so beautiful. And you look in their eyes. You look in Omari Hardwick's eyes. I just started bawling.
Oh, I've seen the moment.
I started bawling,
and it's
man.
so beautiful
I was just
when
so
that camera. She's there and she's sitting and she's looking. It's not a giveaway or anything. She's looking at a little movie on a thing
on a phone,
and she has earplugs in.
Yeah.
And he made the little movie,
but it's not about.
But it's not about that movie.
And
it's all kinds of emotional things are going on. And nobody says anything.
That's why I think it's important that it's one take, because it puts the actors into a frame of mind where they work for that moment, and because they've worked so hard for that moment, the audience can't resist that moment. I think it's a superb film, and I
hope it's doing well. I don't know.
I don't know. It was in one theater in Baldwin Hills. It was in one theater in Baldwin Hills, which bothers me.
Bothers me a lot.
Bothers me.
Very good movie.
Because it's a good movie, and because that Baldwin Hills thing says to me, they looked at this and they thought, oh, it's an all black cast. Well, let's release it in the hood because white people. And no, didn't Moonlight teach you anything?
I cannot believe that movie was not playing in every. I just assumed it was in all the little limelies. I mean, yes, it's an art house. It's an art house film. That's for sure. I get it might not be at
yeah, no,
but it's an art house. Man, I don't know. That bugs me a lot right now. I'm sorry. Let's.
All right, we got a big batch of Criterions. I'm going to hit these hard right now. This is a really, really great month for Criterion. Stuff that you're familiar with, stuff you may not be so familiar with. Stuff like 8 Hours Don't Make a Day. Fassbinder is arguably the most prolific lunatic ever to work in any dramatic format, and he made it's just incredible how, and not even like Berlin Alexanderplatz. Forget about that. 8 Hours Don't Make a Day was a public television drama in Germany, and he just kicked this thing out. He just wrote it and made it, and it's incredible. You just wonder, where does this wellspring of talent come from? This is almost 10 hours of material. Yeah. Which is...
aired in about 1972, I think.
Yep, 1972. And it's just, it's looking at West Germany at a very difficult time, kind of, a generation. It's that generation after World War II, from which he came, the New German Cinema Movement, which also gave us Wim Wenders and, all the others. And it's kind of like a partner to Berlin Alexanderplatz. It's looking at the here and now. Berlin Alexanderplatz looks at the history. They work very well together. It's really very, very compelling, and some wonderful cast participation in Hannes Scheigele, who of course did many things with Fassbinder as well. It's great. It's just really, really good stuff. A little bit Sirkian, as a lot of his stuff was. Really, really fine. And Criterion nabbed a good one with that one. I had no idea that was going to be as good as it was. Sidney Poitier, Raisin in the Sun, gets the Criterion treatment on Blu-ray. This movie is just beautiful. 1961, and based on the Lorraine Hansberry play, which was allegedly the first play by a black woman ever performed on Broadway. Yeah. So it was a big deal as a play, even bigger deal as a movie. Really very memorable movie directed by Daniel Petrie, and it just gets an absolutely beautiful Criterion Collection release with an episode of Theater Talk from 2002 with Philip Rose interviewing Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis, an excerpt from Black Theater Making of a Movement in 1978, and a whole lot of other really cool things. There's an introduction by Woody King Jr. There's an interview with Mia Mask, who's the co-editor of Poitier Revisited. I mean, everything you need to sort of put this film in its historical and artistic context is there.
Ruby Dee, Diana Sands. Diana Sands, extraordinary actress, died very young, as did Lorraine Hansberry. Lou Gossett Jr. I mean, there's so much. Yeah.
It's such a great, beautiful, rich film. From 1965, just a few years later, The Naked Prey, which was Cornell Wilde going.
It's just a fantastic movie, man.
It's a great movie. Cornell Wilde, I don't think anybody.
He produced that film too.
He produced it, directed it. He went hard at it. I don't think anybody knew he had that in him. He was such a great actor, and in the 60s you weren't accustomed. And we talked about this on Film Week last week. With respect to A Star Is Born, is that actors didn't sort of become filmmakers with any kind of regularity until really the 1970s is when that started happening, and really pretty hardcore 80s and 90s, obviously. Clint was one of the first,
oddly, but
yeah. It was Olivier was the exception, right? Yeah. He was the one that.
But he had been a stage director, so he.
And then you obviously have Charles Laughton, who took a shot at it, but it wasn't like a routine.
No, that's why when Orson Welles did it, he was like, "Wow,
they were exceptions."
That's a thing. Yeah.
They were exceptions.
So that movie, if you've never seen that,
The Naked Prey is really, really great, and it's
intense.
It 1965, but definitely part of that. Peck and Pie turn that was going to happen with like the Wild Bunch and Straw Dogs.
Straw Dogs, yeah.
It's sort of it's moving in that direction, right? That really tough, rugged direction.
It's not Tarzan, by the way. No, out there. This is no Tarzan movie.
Takes place early 19th century, basically dealing with an African safari. And Wilde plays this guy who is essentially turned into a human prey. Yeah, he's released for sport for these hunters, and it's
someone is killed.
Yeah,
and a lot of it has to do with friends, and they go after him. And
Yeah.
he's on the run.
Yeah.
And he's sort of picking them off one by one.
It's
He's driven down to the loincloth.
Do you think there is a line that connects this to Deliverance?
Oh wow! Hadn't thought about it,
think
but
about
I do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
See,
it's so good, and there's this respect thing at the end of that movie. Not
Yeah.
going to give it away. That it's just you never saw that in the Tarzan
True.
movies. You
It's
know,
very true.
It's like much
That's true.
respect. You know,
Yeah.
Anyway,
So well shot too.
Yeah.
That color widescreen photography is just pristine.
which
It's
was just
beautiful.
coming on the scene at the time too.
Yeah.
because they're making use of it in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, because
Oh,
that desert. Yeah, sorry.
And then 1975, a movie of a very different stripe, Shampoo.
No, so wonderful.
Hal Ashby, great documentary about Hal Ashby that was recently released theatrically, and Shampoo is a big part of that. I'm sorry that nobody from this movie was interviewed for that
A
doc.
hole in the dock.
It's a hole in the
It's a
dock.
wonderful dock, but that's a hole in it.
It is, but you know what? Great movie, and I'm so happy that this is out on a Blu-ray edition from Criterion. Warren Beatty, Julie Christie, Goldie Hawn. Movie in many respects kind of based on producer John Peters' life as a hairdresser.
Yeah, as a hairdresser before he became
Great script by Robert Towne. It's really really cool. It's a great movie. Lots of fun nuances in it. The film referential nuances. Not a ton by way of special features. They did a 4K digital restoration on this, and it's got a 5.1 DTS soundtrack that's really, really, really very good. There's a conversation with Mark Harris and Frank Rich about this, and then there's an excerpt of Warren Beatty on the South Bank Show in 1998, and an essay by Mark Rich. But
You know what's
that's
most
about it.
interesting about that movie?
Huh.
Julie Christie and Goldie Hawn are in that movie, yet the prettiest person in the movie is
It's
Warren
Warren
Beatty.
Beatty.
That is so wacky. That's crazy, man.
With that hair.
With the hair, I'm like, God dang, he's prettier than Goldie Hawn.
And then we get an absolutely gorgeous edition of Andrei Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev. Andrei Rublev from 1966. This is a restoration of his 3-hour cut, which is his preferred cut. Now, it also includes the original 205-minute version, which is not the one that Tarkovsky preferred, oddly enough. One of the rare cases where the director's cut is, I like the shorter version. I like the version that's 20 minutes shorter. But nonetheless, you can watch them both. You can also watch The Steamroller and the Violin, his thesis film from 1961, which is on here. And this is absolutely just a wonderful set. Our good friend and colleague Justin Chang is also featured on this. Does a lovely job, and this is just really really terrific. I just can't say enough about it. It's one of the great films of all time. It's what established Tarkovsky as an international auteur to be reckoned with. It's just an incredible medieval, mythical journey. Beautiful black and white photography. It's just stunning. I just think this is one of the great films of all time, and based on actual medieval events that took place in Russia that were not terribly well known internationally until this movie. It has all that mysticism and the mythology and the poetry that you associate with Tarkovsky, and really one of the great all-time filmmakers. Such a loss. He died prematurely from cancer, and this will make you very, very sad that we didn't get more out of him, but he left a legacy. So there it is, Andrei Rublev on Blu-ray, special edition from Criterion.
Solaris.
All right, we'll get back to other movies later, but let's talk about some new movies.
And Ant-Man and the Wasp. I dug this.
Better than the previous one, right?
Yeah, because the girl's in it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's always better. It's just always better.
It is.
When my things, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, a fun film, 4K, HD Blu-ray, packed with all kinds of stuff. It's just no point in going into it. If you dig the series, frankly, of the series, of the superhero series, the Marvel series, I'm not into the DC, but of the Marvel, the Ant-Man stuff, it's been my fave, dude.
You know why? Here's why. Because it gets exhausting to watch the world saved from some gigantic, humanity-threatening intergalactic villain every single time. It's exhausting. How often can you do that? It's why the Bond films sometimes get exhausting. But we get a Marvel movie with that theme every year, not every 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Ant-Man, he's just doing his thing. It's very small scale.
Yeah.
And
he's not pretentious. He's not rich.
He's funny.
He's into his daughter. He's kind of into this chick that don't like him.
You can do more because the stakes are more. They're more human. They're more malleable.
You know, I could see me. I do not see me as Captain America at all. Black Panther, no. I would. That whole thing with you, tell me you must be the Black Panther. No, not being no. Pick that guy over there. Anybody. I could see putting on that Ant-Man suit.
Sure.
And like, yeah, I can do this. You know, as long as I can, get hurt and chicken out and stuff like that. That's what he does. I love all that. Anyway, a lot of fun, gag reel, alternative scenes, behind the scenes, featurettes, blah blah blah. Go on and on and on.
And then we got Reprisal with Frank Grillo and Bruce Willis. This is one of those Grindstone deals. Grindstone makes basically two kinds of films. We've talked about this before. They make two kinds of films, and they all put them out through Lionsgate and Lionsgate Premiere. They make either really tough action movies, guys running around with guns, usually has, De Niro or Antonio Banderas or Bruce Willis somewhere in the background. And then they also make movies about funny animals, dogs and cats and weird stuff. So those are their two gears. This is one of the former. Bruce Willis has done a ton of these, especially with this particular director, Brian A. Miller. This is written by Bryce Hammonds. Look, Bruce Willis is hardly in this. This is a Frank Grillo movie, and Frank Grillo is a disgraced cop who's a security guy at a bank, and the bank is heisted, and he now, to save his reputation, maybe get back on the force, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's got to figure out who's behind the bank heist, yada, yada, so forth and so on. And Bruce Willis took a payday on this one. He's the neighbor who comes over 2 or 3 times and gives him some advice and then gets to have like a little tiny moment of glory later. It's practically an overgrown cameo. But look, Frank Grillo doesn't get a lot of starring roles. Jonathan Skeck, who used to kind of be a real actor, plays the bad guy. Yeah. And there's a whole backdrop to him as well. I mean, these guys all do decent work, but this is straight to video stuff. They phone it in. It's Blu-ray and digital combo set. We'll see where it goes.
It's funny, this movie that I have in my hand here, Arizona, Danny McBride film with Rose Mary DeWitt and Luke Wilson. It's kind of this should have been a straight to DVD, although it shouldn't, because I just told you the cast. That's a really, yet the movie plays as a straight to DVD sort of movie, directed by a guy named Jonathan Watson. A decent director, kind of the sort of Danny McBride, that whole crowd. Were they North Carolina boys?
Yeah,
all those North Carolina boys.
Yeah.
He's part of that whole crew. And they do their things, and they bring their boys up and give them shots and all that kind of stuff, which is super duper great, and it's fine. This is not horrible. It's a dark comedy that has Danny McBride ultimately killing a guy played for 40 seconds by Seth Rogen at the top of the film. Rosemary DeWitt witnesses this. It's played for laughs.
Yeah.
He kind of goes bananas, kidnaps her, ends up kidnapping his ex-wife, and he's just going nuttier and nuttier as the body count goes up. It's in that very, very, very bad things sort of mode of movies. And I don't know, man. Some people find this stuff funny, when the body count goes up and it gets darker and darker, and Danny is just saying crazier and crazier things. And I just never cared for them. I don't care for them in any context. And therefore, I can't really judge whether they're good or not, because to me, they're always bad. Anyway, this has a special feature, The Making of Arizona. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. I can't tell you.
So we're going to do some TV. We have an absolutely shameless Lifetime movie called Harry and Meghan, A Royal Romance. This is so mercenary. Hey, look, there's a royal wedding coming up. Quick, write a script.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people. This just happened. Let it breathe for a moment, could you? Let us sort of have a moment where this is a memory, and then you market it as, oh, I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I saw that on Sunday when they had the actual wedding. And
the
look,
flowers
Friday,
aren't even dead yet.
Come on, seriously. This thing was really phoned in. I mean, it's nothing to scream about.
If you want to, hey, you can watch that whole wedding on YouTube. The actual
yes,
wedding,
you can.
You can watch the whole damn thing on YouTube, and I got to tell you, it's worth it. It was fantastic.
And I agree. I look. There's no way that this romance transpired the way it is in this thing.
No.
Somebody had a generic romantic script. Might have been an interracial script. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But then somebody read that and said, "Hey, if we swap Harry and Meghan in for all the names, I'll bet we could." Yeah, that's how this happened. Anyway, it's silly. Why do this? I don't get it.
Oh, the Michael B. Jordan version with Michael Shannon, of course, version of Fahrenheit 451 I just did not care for this.
Didn't see it. I like the original too
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
The Truffaut.
and this, yeah, the Truffaut, and this,
Yeah.
and this was, this. You know what I didn't like the most about it? It's very on the nose. I mean, it's the dialogue. I mean, everyone in this movie says exactly what they're thinking and
Don't
what
need
is
that.
happening in the scene, and didn't need that. Didn't need that at all. In any case, it was nominated for 5 Emmys, outstanding television movie, but it's not going to win.
So we also have Vikings season 5, volume 1. I'm amazed this show has gotten this far. Seriously, I mean,
Our buddy Sherman loves that show.
it has steadily improved. I will say that it has gotten better over those 5 seasons as they kind of got away from a lot of the I don't want to say less historically accurate, but as they kind of tried to move to something that was a little bit more anchored in history and actual historical figures, instead of just Vikings just marauding and rampaging and warring, which only gets you so far. So the interesting thing about this series is my direct ancestor has become a character on this show.
Oh, get out!
No. See, a lot of people. Rollo, the first Duke of Normandy, is the great grandfather of William the Conqueror.
Oh,
So pretty much anybody who is descended from the British royal line anywhere can go back to Rollo. Rollo's a character on the show. So first Duke of Normandy, right? He was a Viking who came up the Seine and told Charles the Simple, "I'm going to conquer you if you don't make nice with me." And he said, "How about Normandy? You want to own that whole piece and just swear loyalty to me?" And that's what happened. I'm descended from William the Conqueror's uncle, who was an archbishop who was excommunicated and then banished, and then
that makes sense.
had a lot of kids, and there are billions of us floating around now, I'm sure. In any case, so that I have a certain connection to the show, kind of, sort of, maybe, but anyway, it's better in the 5th season now. Things are they're playing up the plot more than the blood and the guts, and that's good. And they're drawing a lot on a lot of these medieval sagas. In this place, it's interesting because they brought more women into it. The Queen of Kattegat, and a lot of these things that are really recorded in actual Icelandic sagas. They're really kind of trying to tie a lot of that in. There are extended versions of 10 episodes here, and commentary, and some featurettes and deleted scenes. So Vikings, you know what? Starting to really kind of own it. Really, and the unrated aspect of this is very unrated. So you're getting your money's worth on this Blu-ray.
I've got the third season 3 of Billions here. To be honest with you, I didn't like season 1, don't like season 3, don't like this show.
I know people who love this
I
show.
I know. They dig that whirl.
I keep trying to say to them, these two, no one's going to win this battle ever.
No.
There's never going to be a moment where Paul Giamatti says, "Ha ha, gotcha," or where Damian Lewis says, "Ha ha." That's never going to happen.
Yeah,
that's never going to happen on this show.
I do not like this show because there are literally no protagonists on this show. These are all just everybody's horrible. Everybody on this show is horrible. He's horrible. And by osmosis, everybody, even this is all terrible. And the other reason why I don't like this show is because I came of age in the '80s. Remember the '80s?
Yeah.
When Trump and Bortsky and Wall Street and all of that stuff, the Lincoln Savings and all that. Yeah. I lived that billionaires period when everything was about making that first back then it was $1 million, kind of stuff like that. It just doesn't strike me as particularly interesting. So I'm out.
Good cast, but it doesn't ever resolve.
It's the content that I do not care for.
Got a couple from Acorn here. The first one is Series 3 of East West 101, which continues to be a really great, hard-boiled Australian drama. Don Haney is just terrific in the lead part of Zayn Malik, who it really kind of underlines a lot of the ethnic issues that are going on with the immigrant communities in Australia, and how that affects the policing in Australia. It's a very unique show. Really, really well done, and very timely, very much kind of attached to the moment in terms of Muslim and Western societies and how they integrate immigration and refugees. The other one is a quite good adaptation of Anna Karenina for Acorn TV on DVD, not Blu-ray. This was originally aired in 2000. So this is, I didn't even know this had existed, but they keep doing stuff for British television without telling any of the rest of us. Anyway, this is one of the better adaptations of Anna Karenina because it is quite faithful, and that's tough to be faithful without being sort of long-winded and but you want to be faithful to the novel, but you still have to take some license. So they split the difference. It's long. It's about 4 hours long. Done in 4 episodes. They really cover all the territory that the other film adaptations of Anna Karenina sort of skip over. So you get much more historical nuance, but it's good. And Stephen Delane is wonderful, and Mark Strong is in this. Amanda Root. I mean, some people who've become very fixtures in your movies today are all wonderful in this. Helen McCrory in the lead is just absolutely superb. So one of the better versions of the Tolstoy novel, Anna Karenina, from Acorn TV, originally aired in 2000 on British television, from RLJ and Acorn.
Blu-ray, the complete collection, Ash versus the Evil Dead. 1979 is when Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and all those, Robert Tapper and all those guys, made that original Evil Dead film. I think the film didn't come out until about 1981 because they had to figure out a way to actually edit it. And then, it sort of made everybody's career for that. And he went on to do all the other stuff, the other Evil Deads, Army of Darkness, and a whole lot of great stuff. And then comes Ash versus the Evil Dead. And, this series got started, and I was watching, and they were playing into this joke of how much older Bruce was, with the belly and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, I didn't care for it.
Yeah.
Because, I'm like, hey, man, that's my dude. That's Ash, dude. Why are you making fun of Ash, dude? What I like about this series is that you go forward into it, he kind of pulls it together. You can see him losing a few pounds, and he gets that old sash back, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, now we're talking about the Evil Dead. He gets that attitude back, and maybe they planned it that way, or maybe he just quit eating donuts. I don't know, but it makes the series get better as we move into it, as he gets his mojo back and starts kicking ass. All kinds of special features on this, seasons 1, 2, and 3 seasons. It's funny. It's a lot of fun. It's a throwback. For my generation, you got to have it.
You know what else you got to have? 4K of the original Evil Dead, which we're making an exception here. We're covering TV, but we're going to push this in there.
Yeah.
The 4K of the original Evil Dead is also out this week. And you know what's funny? I don't think anybody saw this at the time and quite knew what to make of it. Sam Raimi didn't really announce his intentions until Evil Dead 2. That's when people realized they could revisit the Evil Dead and laugh at it.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
It's funny, guys.
And it's out in 4K. This movie was shot really low budget. Did it need to be on 4K? No.
Yeah, I mean, what do you see? It was 16 millimeters, for God's sake.
35 years. Last week we talked about Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
Evil Dead and Fraggle Rock are both 35 years old. How weird is that? Yeah. Anyway, yes, the origins of Ash Williams and Bruce Campbell totally cutting it up in the original Evil Dead. Great movie, out on 4K, and an audio commentary with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and Robert Tappert, the producer, which is a whole lot of fun. So you got to add this. This is a 4K that's a must for the collection.
The Resident complete season 1, 3 discs, which includes all 14 episodes. I started watching this. Kind of interesting, young doctors and doing that kind of thing. But it's kind of ordinary too. I'm a St. Elsewhere guy,
right?
And from St. Elsewhere, I pop up all the way up to a couple of seasons of ER.
Yeah.
That's about it for me when it comes to doctor shows. I mean, you got to go way back to like Chad Everett Medical Center, but I was a kid then. But people seem to like this, so it's okay.
And the originals, the 5th and final season, and thank goodness this is finally over.
Damn vampires.
I'm so over the vampire thing, and it's really it's long past due that we start getting all the vampire shows off TV.
Vampires and take the werewolves with you.
All of them.
And the zombies too.
All of you need to go away. So, the 5th and final season of the originals is history, and it's really not that different from the previous 4 seasons. They milked every piece of this that they possibly could, and it's stylish and sexy and young and vampire-y and all that stuff, but we're done. This has the Comic-Con panel from 2017, for those who care about that, a gag reel, some unaired scenes, and then you're done.
That is it. American Horror Story Cult. First American Horror Story, I think it was like 2009 or something like that. I would not have thought that they would be able to reconceive, but they did. This is the complete 7th season, American Horror Story Cult. 3 disc set contains all 11 season 7 episodes. Look, people love this stuff who love this stuff. It's not my kind of thing, but if you love it, grab it.
All right, we're going to get into some old movies now, some classic old movies, and let me hit the. I'm going to hit the Twilight Time stuff first. Got an interesting quartet of Twilight Time titles this week, this month, starting with "In My Country" with Samuel L. Jackson and Juliette Binoche. This is a little-known John Boorman movie that I'm really glad they went and dug up. You know, John Boorman has had such a long and rich and storied career. And some of the films are totally overlooked, and some of them are really unfairly maligned, Zardoz, Exorcist 2, and some of them are just incredibly well thought of, Deliverance and Hope and Glory. I mean, it's, you know, it's all, he's sort of all over the map.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he is. In My Country was made in 2004, and it's a very, very sweet, underrated movie that deals with the relationship between an Afrikaner poet, played by Juliette Binoche, and an American journalist, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who are both in South Africa to cover the Truth and Reconciliation hearings right after the end of apartheid. And it's a really interesting film. It's not flashy. It's not hyper dramatic. But it's the only film that I'm aware of to date that has actually dramatized anything to do with the Truth and Reconciliation hearings, which are a really important part of history.
Yeah.
And it delves rather boldly into why that was important and what it meant to South Africans at the time and why it was so unique and completely unprecedented in the history of humanity. It's really extraordinary. There's an audio commentary with Boorman, thank goodness, because he's getting up there. Isolated music track, as with all Twilight Time titles. Deleted scenes with optional commentary. And interviews with a lot of key people, including Juliette Binoche and Mike Medavoy. So, In My Country, good, solid John Boorman movie from the early 2000s. We also have The Bravados, which was a kind of a quintessential 20th Century Fox Western of the 1950s with Gregory Peck and Joan Collins and Stephen Boyd. I mean, this really is very much right in that mode, directed by Henry King, you know, just like a lot of their other stuff. And Henry King and Gregory Peck had previously done The Gunfighter in the early 50s.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is it's not a sequel to it, but it trades on a lot of the same themes. You know, he plays a rancher whose young wife has been killed. Usually it's the other way around. It's the rancher who's been killed and the wife is the one who has to seek revenge. Anyway, we've seen this story a million times. But it's fine. Great supporting performances by everybody involved. Lee Van Cleef's also in it as well. The Bravados. And then we also have, from Twilight Time, a sensational performance by Spencer Tracy in The Last Hurrah, great John Ford film from 1958. And, you know, Spencer Tracy it's like he can do absolutely no wrong whatsoever. This is based on the Edwin O'Connor novel, which is very much kind of timely again, you know? It's about a mayor of a New England city and who's running for re-election for the 5th time and has been accused of some truly horrible things. And when you look at where we are politically today, it's interesting to watch this to realize not much is all that new. This really kind of hits a lot of very, very important points that continue to be sort of very relevant and prescient. James Gleason, Ricardo Cortez, Pat O'Brien, Basil Rathbone, a lot of great supporting performances who look like political figures now. It's a good, powerful film, great, very unusual John Ford film for the era, too. And then lastly, a movie that was so maligned at the time, and damn if it isn't a camp classic now. 1977's The Other Side of Midnight.
Yeah.
I will never forget that artwork. That you know, that artwork I remember on TV. I remember my mother even like trying to cover my eyes when the commercials would come on, just like, ooh, that looks really dirty. And it kind of is for 1977. This was based on a Sidney Sheldon novel.
Yeah.
That was it stars Marie-France Pizier, the French actress at the time, who had this affair with an American pilot during World War II, and she gets pregnant, and you know, then flash forward, there's all this melodrama and whatnot. Susan Sarandon was in this. It was a very early performance for Susan Sarandon. Michel Legrand wrote the music. It's all very sappy and soapy and scandalous and kind of innocent at the same time. But nonetheless, it's Sidney Sheldon. Look, Sidney Sheldon didn't write porn.
No.
He created I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
So it was sort of scandalous at the time, but in retrospect, it's sort of chaste and campy and amusing.
Oh, The Bride on Blu-ray. The Bride, 1985. Sting in this film. Jennifer Beals.
An arty Frankenstein movie.
Yeah. And not very good. She was terrible in it.
Coming off of Flashdance.
And then we realized, oh, this chick can't act. She just looks sexy when that sweater is hanging off the shoulder.
Yeah.
And then, years later, hey, you know what? She built herself a career. And Sting never did quite become the movie star, heartthrob that I thought that people thought that he might be. He wanted to do all kinds of stuff. Anyway, Clancy Brown is in this movie. I always love that. Commentary by the director, Frank Rodham.
Yeah, I remember Rodham.
Tales from the Hood 2. What's most interesting about Tales from the Hood 2 is that Rusty Condiff and Darren Scott, who did the original Tales from the Hood, are this film too. Keith David in the movie.
Yeah.
Tales from the Hood, 1995. That movie. And here, the second movie, 2018. That's nuts. That's a long time, but hey, do it again if you got to. Here's an interesting thing. If you look up the original Tales from the Hood poster, it's going to have some taglines on it. I wrote those taglines.
Did you really?
I did. I wrote the taglines for the Tales from the Hood posters. Might be on the DVD boxes too. I don't know.
Very, very, very cool. He's become such a big star in recent years. People forget that Leonardo DiCaprio has done some bad movies.
Yeah.
And
The Man in the Iron Mask would be one of them.
Yes, it would.
He was young.
He was. This is now out in a 20th anniversary edition from Shout Select. I love the people at Shout Factory. They pick good stuff. I get it. This is, it's kind of hard to turn this down. It's Leonardo DiCaprio. It's the Man in the Iron Mask, Jeremy Irons, John Malkovich, Depardieu, Gabriel Byrne. It comes from the Musketeers, the Three Musketeers saga. It's it has all of those. Peter Suskitsky, shot it. Anthony Pratt, production design. Alexander Dumas novel. Randall Wallace, the writer of Braveheart, wrote and directed it. I get it. The credentials, the pedigree is very impressive. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a terrible movie.
Yeah. It's back when Leo was still really just working with Woodby and Purdy.
Yeah.
And that's why he was there, and that's what he was doing. And
it's so upsetting because it's a story that deserves better treatment. It's really a great novel. The Dumas novel is a great novel. Like, I prefer Man in the Iron Mask to the Three Musketeers.
The Three Musketeers, yeah.
I really do. I think the Man in the Iron Mask is the pinnacle of Dumas. But nonetheless, if you do like the film, you get a 4K scan of the original camera negative, down converted to Blu-ray here. And there's a new interview with the producer, Paul Hitchcock. There's a new interview with Anthony Pratt, the amazing production designer. Randall Wallace does an audio commentary, and then there's some featurettes. And so, I hate this film with an abiding passion. I had to review it for Box Office at the time, and I shredded it. But look, I guess there's enough here in this pedigree that somebody would care.
Yeah.
Also from Flickr Alley. Gosh, they're doing some really, really good work these days. Flickr Alley is just they're chewing it up. They've got some great stuff here. First off, from the Black Hawk Films collection is Berlin. These are all manufacture on demand. Let me point out, these are Blu-rays, but they're MOD Blu-rays. So you got to go to their site, flickralley.com. And order this stuff, and you're going to want to. flickralley.com. The first is from the Black Hawk Films collection, and it is Berlin Symphony of a Great City by Walter Ruttmann. This is an extraordinary movie from 1927. It's only an hour long, but it's a snapshot of a place and a time and a moment. One day in the history of Berlin, at a moment before when it was right the waning days of the Weimar Republic, before Hitler, before Nazism, before it became a divided city. This is a rare moment in what Berlin once was. And if you've seen, for example, Cabaret, you know a little bit from Cabaret about what Berlin was in this particular moment. Even though Cabaret takes place later, it is still, very much it captures a lot of those aspects of it. Anyway, this is a highly influential film. They did a beautiful job here with a 2K scan of the original 16mm elements. And there's a fantastic score here by Timothy Brock, performed by the Olympia Chamber Orchestra, that is just perfect. It's a perfect marriage of material and music. It's just absolutely great. Karl Freund co-wrote the screenplay. The original idea was from Carl Mayer. It's a great kind of experimental, kaleidoscopic documentary snapshot of this very historic city before bombs literally leveled it. And it's for all kinds of reasons, this is historic. Berlin Symphony of a Great City. And then we have 2 volumes from Flickr Rally of Rudolph Valentino films. This is the Rudolph Valentino Collection, Volume 1 and Volume 2. On Volume 1, we have Eyes of Youth from 1919 and Moran of the Lady Letty from 1922. And then Volume 2 has A Society Sensation, Virtuous Sinners, Stolen Moments, and The Young Raja, all between 1918 and 1922. Rudolph Valentino, of course, one of the legendary early movie stars, a face that you could not dream of. And this is a wonderful look at what made him such an extraordinary screen talent, why he was so legendary. And if you are a fan of this stuff, as I am, anything from the silent era, you will absolutely want to add this to your collection. Sad little anecdote. Rudolph Valentino, his home no longer exists in Los Angeles. You would have expected that would have been a landmark here, a dedicated landmark of some kind, protected miles. No, it's not. It was torn up so they could put the Hollywood freeway through.
Yeah.
So the ruins and the location of Rudolph Valentino's house is somewhere buried underneath the Hollywood freeway. On to you, sir.
Shall we knock out a couple of these over here?
Hit those.
The Spiral Staircase. What the heck? Everybody knows this extremely wonderful film. Dorothy McGuire, Ethel Barrymore. It's just a wonderful film. This is a Blu-ray. It looks fantastic. The black and white is so crisp that it's almost like watching silhouettes occasionally. And of course, the way the film is constructed with this spiral staircase, with those, the light would shine and those spires of the staircase would hit the wall in that very particular way. And it's just extremely effective. Newly remastered HD 4K scan, restored. I mean, really, this is just a fine, fine grain. It's just so smooth. It's absolutely astounding. Audio commentary by film historian Imogene Sarah Smith. There was a 1945 Screen Directors Playhouse radio broadcast of this film, and they put that on here too. Excuse me, with Dorothy McGuire and director Robert Sidemek.
Got 3 interesting films here. Oh, I'll let you go. Do the 3D thing.
Oh, the Sangria, originally released in 3D.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of interesting for a film that's not really a horror film or anything like that. This is really just a big old drama. I mean, a melodrama at that. But it was nevertheless in 3D. So this is Fernando Lamas, Arlene Dahl, Patricia Medina. He's playing this indentured servant guy who was working for this during the Revolutionary War. He was working for this doctor. When the doctor dies, the doctor leaves in his will all of his land and stuff to this guy who had been his indentured servant. Needless to say, his daughter does not care for this. In fact, the problem is really with the daughter's fiancé and the daughter's fiance's father, who want all of this kind of stuff. And when we watch this sort of love twist around and everything like that, as Fernando Lamas fights to make sure that the will doesn't get broken and that he's able to take care, to carry out his master's desires. So anyway, it's a neat, incredibly melodramatic film set just after the Revolutionary War. It came out about 1955, I think. It's okay. Fernando Lamas, it is much better to look good than to feel good. Kind of guy with a strong chin and all that kind of stuff. This is a newly remastered HD 4K. Again, looks fantastic. The color is absolutely insane on this film. A lot of special features, including the 1955 Lux Radio adaptation with Arlene Dahl and Cesar Romero, as opposed to Fernando Lamas, who was actually in the film.
So we have Big Wednesday on Blu-ray from the Warner Archive Collection. Big Wednesday, of course, the original surfing movie, kind of epic surfing movie. This was directed by John Milius. Very Milius film, very macho, because Milius was one of those guys in the 60s who was heavy into the surfing. I kind of overlapped with a little bit with these people. I knew these. I know some of these guys
Yeah.
today. They're like aging surfers, and they kind of still think they're 18, 19, 20, even though they're like 68 and
Yeah,
69.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's fine.
They're just living that surf life, man.
But this gave us, three actors who went on to do quite a bit: Jan Michael Vincent, William Catt, and Gary Busey. A young Gary Busey. Look how like not freaked out he looks.
Yeah, because you just saw him the other.
I just saw.
Yeah,
I just saw him roaming around the chili cook-off on Labor Day. Man, that was, you wanted to run the other direction. He had a look in his eye that looked like something scary. Anyway,
just the one eye.
just the one eye. But anyway, it is surfing is the metaphor here. It's all metaphorical about life and coming of age and so forth. And William Catt would of course go on to be the greatest American hero, and Jan Michael Vincent would go on to do
Airwolf.
Airwolf.
And made a couple good films. The Lightfoot.
Sure. Yeah. So, but anyway, they actually learned to surf for this movie, and it's all real. It's good. It's good stuff. There's an audio commentary with Melius, which is very, very good, and a retrospective documentary called "Capturing the Swell." So, I mean, the movie dates a little bit. It's very much of a moment, but I still kind of like it. We also have a Boris Karloff collection, 4 movies: Dance of Death, Torture Zone, Cult of the Dead, and Alien Terror. None of them are very good, but it's a reason to just kind of get 4 crappy movies on there from the lower end of Boris Karloff's career, and you can throw it on for Halloween or whatever. It's not a big deal. And then Thelma Todd and Zazu Pitts. The Hal Roach Collection, 1931 to 33. We have mentioned before that Thelma Todd, of course, created a restaurant that I drive by every single day, and then she died a very controversial death, and was she murdered by her mobster boyfriend and all this stuff. They made a movie of it with Lonnie Anderson some years ago, in the 1980s. Anyway, this is a bunch of shorts from 1931, 32, and 33 that starred Thelma Todd and Zazu Pitts. And if you don't know who either of them were, it's worth checking out. It's a lot of fun here. It's like Alum and Eve is very, very funny. Red Noses is very funny, and maybe my favorite of the whole thing is Maids a la Mode from 1933. Some really cool shorts, all mastered from the original negatives, and commentaries on some of these as well. So that's a fun set. Thelma Todd and Zazu Pitts.
Ah, yes. A couple of music documentaries here. Imagine and Give Me Some Truth, both documentaries surrounding John and Yoko Ono. Of course, John and Yoko. Imagine, the way it's sort of created, it's filmed during the summer of 1971, a little bit in London, a little bit in New York, at the Dakota, about 10 years before we would lose John. There. So it's really interesting to sort of roam around inside that apartment. The way Imagine is constructed, it's lots of interviews with lots of celebrities and famous people that they knew who would come by wherever they were and whatever they were doing, and they would sit around and talk and play music and sing songs. And it was really sort of like leftover stuff from the 60s is what's going on in Imagine, in that kind of talk there. And it's a perfectly lovely film, and we get to see George Harrison and Fred Astaire and Andy Warhol and Dick Cavett and Jack Palance and Jonas Mekas, and it's structured that way. Give Some Truth is a Grammy Award-winning film, and it's more centered around music and the music making process, particularly for the album Imagine, for the Imagine album, from conception all the way through the process of building the songs, writing the music, through final recording. That's what's going on in that film, Give Some Truth, and it's really beautiful. Obviously, both of these films feature a great deal of music from John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and many of the other Beatles playing this and singing that, and this, that, and the other thing round and about. Bonus features includes studio outtakes and all kinds of other stuff. Look, if you're a Beatles completist, you're going to want this. If you're a Lennon fan, you're going to want this. On Blu-ray, looks fantastic and pretty special. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, believe it or not, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not all that old. It's only only like 30 plus years old. I mean, it was created within the our time as adults listening to rock and roll music. So this is a compilation of some of the most important and interesting inductions into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, featuring acts from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Highlights come from the 2010, 11, 12, and 13 induction ceremonies. You will see Alice Cooper, Under My Wheels, Rob Zombie, Hart, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Stevie Wonder, John Mellencamp, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, I think Don Henley and Randy Newman and Neil Young and Tom Waits are various different hosts at different times here, so you get to hear a lot from them. All kinds of stuff. Tom Petty, lost Tom Petty not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And a lot of contemporary artists too, John Legend, John Mayer, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, you're a rock and roll person, you're going to want to grab this.
And one more on music before we get into foreign language stuff. Is Idil Biret 75th anniversary concert with the Borisan Istanbul Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Toshiyuki Shimada. And Idil Biret, of course, is the great Turkish pianist. She is extraordinary. Here she plays pieces by Hindemith, Rachmaninoff, and Schumann, and she does it beautifully. There's also a little bonus of her at Yale University. I've said this many times. There is something different about the way that women and men perform any instrument, frankly, and concert piano as well. Women just do it differently. There's something,
and it
that
doesn't
comes
have anything
through.
to do with aggression or strength
It's
or power. It's
interpretation. It's just purely interpretation, and it's lovely. She is absolutely extraordinary. And this is unfortunately only on DVD. I wish it were on Blu-ray because it's just superb. And this was recorded. The Yale University thing is from 2012, and the 75th anniversary concert is from 2016. So I really recommend this, even though it's only on DVD and not Blu-ray. Idil Biret 75th anniversary concert. All right, let's foreign.
You want to pop over some of this stuff?
Yeah, let me hit this one real quick. I got a couple of Spanish language ones here, which I want to make mention of. Summer 1993 by Carla Simón is a Spanish film that is basically a coming-of-age movie. It takes place in 1993, obviously, as you judge from the title, about a 6-year-old girl who is coming of age in the countryside of Barcelona. There is an unfortunate family situation. A really, really horrific family tragedy that has placed her there. I won't give that away. That's something you need to watch the film. It comes fairly early on in the film, and you understand what's going on. But what's so lovely about this is that this isn't even a plot-driven movie. You just feel like a fly on the wall through all of these otherwise seemingly small and inconsequential events that have a very large and outsized impact on this young girl's life. It's a really finely observed art film. Really very beautifully done. Carla Simón has a huge future ahead of her. She's very sensitive and detail oriented, and I really, really look for just the way it's shot. It's just so. It's one of those movies where you just can't imagine a camera crew being anywhere near what's happening. So that's beautiful. It's on Blu-ray and on DVD. Summer 1993 from Oscilloscope. And the other one is La Madre, El Hijo y la Abuela. Did I do that? Okay.
That's fantastic, man.
I don't know. I would never know what that meant if they didn't have the translation right here on the cover. This is Mother, Son, and Grandmother. This is from IndiePix. It's a Chilean film. And Chile, probably next to Brazil and Argentina, is the South American industry to watch. They're making a lot of really, really interesting movies these days. And this is about this young guy who takes his camera back to his hometown after it's been completely wiped out by a volcano, and he's there to document things. But he basically meets two friends, and there winds up being a how would I put this? What he went looking to capture with his camera is not what he finally does capture with his camera, if that makes sense. And very, very interesting story twists to this one, and it apparently has some connection to real events. So anyway, Benjamin Brunet is the filmmaker. The movie is Mother, Son, and Grandmother. It's a Chilean drama, and it's very good and very interesting.
Shall I knock off a couple of these?
Yep.
Wreck.
Oh, gosh.
The 4-film Spanish collection. I remember covering these as Spanish films, and then they spun off them. 2 American films, 2 American versions of the same thing. It was kind of interesting. Young TV reporter.
Found footage
genre,
kind of thing,
and they're originally just assigned to go follow a fire department Fire department gets called out to this building, go into the building. There's something going on in the building. The building gets quarantined. The fire department guys and the little news reporter crew are trapped in the building with the tenants of the building and whatever the hell else is going on in the building. Pretty intense. Okay, little movie. Rec 2 picks up just moments after the end of Rec, and that's what I like it. That's what they did in the original Halloween series. You remember Halloween
Sure
2?
do.
And it literally picks up just a few moments later. By the time you get to Rec 3, you're sort of losing the grip a little bit. By the time you get to Rec 4, Genesis, you're just explaining. So it's like those Purge films. You work your way around and you try to get 4 of them out of it, and if you make it, you did good. They did. They're all in this box set. 1, 2, 3, and 4 special features include making of, behind the scenes, outtakes, deleted scenes, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Look, if you like this kind of stuff, particularly the Spanish films, you'll enjoy these. They're a lot of fun if you're into the horror business.
I don't particularly care for any of those movies, but look, the fact that even exists at all is kind of.
Well, it's like I think last week we talked about. Was it last week we talked about the Blumhouse thing? You just make one of these things, and you make another one of these things. You make another one of these things. The next thing you know, you got yourself a factory.
There you go. I'm going to hit some French language stuff here from Distrib Films, a Lucas Belvaux film. I like Lucas Belvaux very, very much. That stars Emily Dequesne, Andrei Dussolier, and Guillaume Gouy. Emily Dequesne, of course, did Rosetta for the Belgian brothers, and Andrei Dussolier has been around forever. The film is called "This Is Our Land," and it's really timely. If you follow French politics to any significant degree, this really ties into everything that has been happening lately, everywhere in the world. And it's quite quite pungent. I'm surprised this didn't get a significant theatrical release. Anyway, this is from Distrib Films via Icarus Films Home Video. And Lucas Belvaux previously made a film that we gave our top award to at the Kolkoa Film Festival, which was called Wrapped, which was a kidnapping thriller. And this is not quite as good as Wrapped, but it's still very, very, very good. It's about a working class single mother who decides that she's going to get into politics. But politics is not all that it's cracked up to be. She just wants to be a mayor, but it winds up being, you get into all of the politics of race and immigration, and all that stuff is brought to the surface with like a festering boil in this thing. And it speaks to populism, which is a thing in the United States and in Europe and in India and in the Philippines, and it's a lot of people are displaced in a lot of these societies, and very few films are kind of wrestling with that and why this phenomenon exists. This Is Our Land it does a great job of it, and Belvaux is a fine filmmaker. We also have Bruno Dumont's movie Jeanette, The Childhood of Joan of Arc. I won't get into all of my Bruno Dumont stories. Bruno is an iconoclast, and I've had to Kolkoa, I moderated a couple of panels that he was on. Once he was a gentleman, the other time it was not easy. Bruno makes movies that are kind of pompous and self-absorbed and overly arty, and he's not afraid to just go completely over the cliff and do things that really turn people off. Is this an ordinary Joan of Arc movie? Not by any stretch of the imagination. It is a Bruno Dumont movie. But it is an interesting one in that it does have a connection to a certain history, looking at Joan of Arc, beginning at the age of 8, and how this, presumably all these childhood experiences made her who she was and eventually became. The movie's too long, but it is better than most Bruno Dumont movies, but it is nonetheless a Bruno Dumont movie, and it was at Cannes and was not terribly well received. The last one here is Sandrine Kiberlin and Laurent Lafitte, both of whom I absolutely adore. And that's appropriate because the actual title of this is Elle l'adore, otherwise translated in English as number one fan, which sounds a little bit creepier. Jeanne Herry directed this. This is also from Icarus and Distrib Films. And it's about a beautician played by Sandrine Kiberlin, who is obsessed with this one pop singer. And suddenly her dreams come true, and there he is in her life. And how do you deal with this? And is this even normal? And, what happens when suddenly an ordinary life is pushed into the extraordinary? It does not do what you expect it to do. French films never actually do. This is not a fairy tale. This actually goes into some pretty dark corners that you don't see coming, but it's smart. This was made about 4 years ago. Again, if this had been 20 years ago, this would have gotten a theatrical release here. It really is a smart film. It starts in one place and it goes into a completely different direction. And as far as should I call it a thriller? Yeah, I guess it's a thriller. It's definitely a thriller, but you don't see it coming. So get ready.
Fascinating. Asia Argento in the year 2000 directed her debut film, Scarlet Diva, semi-autobiographical film about a young actress, up and coming, and yet still full of anxiety and angst about her life, hating being degraded by the male directors and producers in her life, loses it a little bit and goes on a sort of wild spree across America and Europe, and then tries to turn it all around and pull herself back to a spot where she'd like to be and find true love. Man, oh man, oh man. Art imitating life, imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. Just I mean, literally, it just all wrapped back around on her. I have no issues with Asia. This was an interesting film, not particularly good, not particularly adept, but okay. Lots of special features here, there, and everywhere. 2 audio commentaries by Asia. One from 2002, the other one from 2018.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, there we go. There we have it. All right, that should just about wrap things up. We are done for this week. We're gonna now the holiday season is really upon us. We're gonna start getting inundated with screeners. So, but we will not go on hiatus until the end of November. So we've got a few more weeks of podcasts. We'll keep you guys abreast. And in the meantime, email us at gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com. Visit the Facebook page, and please visit the CineGods Facebook page as well. DigiGods, you need to join. CineGods is open to anybody, and the CineGods.com site is going to be getting some upgrades soon, too. We'll get that back on track. Till then, we'll see you guys later.